Okay, got it.
Cool. But yeah, so just not warming up here, and I ski. I sit ski.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is my 7th winter back, and it's kind of weird the way I do it. Like I'm gonna buy ski, and I have definitely less function than you have. Like in terms of, I'm in a power chair. I don't transfer myself. I'm so impressed with like when I saw the video of you doing your morning routine and like how much you're able to do on your own and all that. It's like pretty impressive, man. Among the other things that you have going on, but I'm in a bi-ski. I don't have the shoulders for the outriggers, There's no way I would trash my arms. So I can't do that. And traditionally, like if you can't hold the outriggers, they make you put these fixed outriggers on the ski. That's basically like training wheels. So when you lean, you can't lean over too far and fall over, but you also can't lean over and turn quickly either. So there's a lot of reasons why that is like, it takes a lot of the control away, because when you're going across the hill and you go on other people's tracks, it makes the ski do things it wouldn't do if it didn't have those like training wheel skis on their fixed outriggers. So I have just enough trunk balance that I'm able to ski with my balance, and the instructor has me on like 6 to 10 feet of webbing. So I'm just kind of out in front of him, and I can't do anything to slow down or stop. So he has to help me with that. But other than that, I'm just like navigating the hill. I was always a snowboarder before. I was a snowboard instructor for 9 years, and I probably have some bad habits by doing it, but I'm basically pretending I'm snowboarding.
Yeah, because you kind of got to hop the rear, don't you, to get it to actually cut and turn? No,
it's I use a bi-ski. It's like 2 skis next to each other. It's like if you were skiing with your feet next to each other.
okay.
And then when you turn, they both turn on edge. It's different than a mono ski. On a mono ski, you would kick the rear end to like skid turn, they call it, or hockey stop. And that's what I would be doing if I was a para, if I had, full upper body strength and maybe even some lower trunk, but
the cold doesn't affect you like at all. Like you're not cold all the time.
Not all the time. I used to be, and like I said, man, it really has it really matters like what I'm doing during the week. And I'm really lucky. Right around us, we've got a program called Bridging Bionics, where they've got like three or four different types of exoskeleton walking devices, and they've got a Locomat. It's a local donation based nonprofit, but what they've been able to do is pretty cool. And they've got this Galileo tilt table that like any of us would benefit from, like any human even would benefit from. Like you get on a table, you get strapped down, and then there's a foot plate at the bottom, and you get raised up onto that, so your weight is on it, and then it oscillates left and right, like it goes up to like 30 hertz, so that's like 30 times per second. And the way like it goes up and down on the sides, so like instead of a regular vibration plate that just rattles you, it goes left and right, and so your pelvis is doing like this but really quickly, and it simulates the natural gait in your spine, like the serpentine spine. And then each one of those oscillations of the table engenders a extensor chain muscle reaction in the body. So like through biofeedback, basically your muscles turn on, like your glutes and your quads and your calves, and basically all your extensor muscles all the way up into your back, into your shoulders, like whether they're paralyzed or not, they're gonna fire. And like on that table, you could do like 6 3-minute rounds at like 24 hertz. And that's like, I don't remember the exact math, but it's somewhere around 20 something to 30,000 muscle contractions in 18 minutes. And
Wow.
like, this thing will like put meat on your legs.
Damn, I need to get one of those or get in one of those.
You do. I mean, they should be everywhere, really. It's like,
You guys got a lot of cool stuff there in Colorado as far as like spinal cord injury and technology and stuff like that and advancement.
definitely, Craig Hospital is like
Yeah.
not too far away. We're a couple 100 miles away from them. And but then also I use this thing, same company that makes that table, called a Galileo dumbbell, that High Fives helped me get a few years back. And then I also use it at that program, the Bridging Bionics program. And like, it's shaped like a Roman numeral 3. And the middle part is the handle oscillates. So the whole thing weighs like 6.25 pounds. And
Yeah.
you grab that thing in the middle and it oscillates in a way that like it oscillates the weight of it imperceptibly, like it's a real random pattern, basically. And as you hold it, even though I'm only holding it with like active hands, because I don't, for me, I don't have hand or wrist, and no tenodesis or any of that. And so we use active hands, strap my hand in there. I'll use another brace to stiffen up my wrist, and then I can do pretty good dumbbell shoulder arm exercises, like, pushing and pulling, pushing up, pulling down, curls, triceps, internal, external rotation. But like when you're strapped onto this thing, even when your hand's in a gripping position on it, I don't know exactly how it does it, but it makes all the proprioceptive muscles kick in. So like if you're doing a curl, like you're getting so many more muscles to fire. And it's the same thing. It's through the vibration, you're getting this biofeedback thing. So you're not like using E-stim to try to shock your muscles into working. It's something that's like really kind of natural, a natural response that you're having to it.
Yeah.
And so, I gained probably like when I get sick or whatever, and I get all the way to my like lowest weight, I get down to like around 130, probably. I'm 6'2". And, as long as I'm doing well and doing those workouts and everything, I'll get up to like 155, without, and
Really?
and I'm lean, I'm not getting really any fat to speak of. So it's incredible, man. Yeah. Especially the table, because how the hell is you going to get muscle on your legs,
Exactly.
And also though, like, you've got bone density there because of it activates the osteoblasts and the fibroblasts. So it creates more muscle fiber and more muscle density. And then you have like the lymphatic drainage and the increased blood circulation. And
Yeah. No, that thing sounds amazing. I want to figure out, is that the only one that's there, or do they have other ones around the country?
they're only operating locally here, but and I don't know, like, I've never seen any kind of information on what places in the country have those tables. The table, if you bought it out of pocket, it's about 25 grand. But
Holy.
yeah, but if there was like a rehab facility or any kind of place where a lot of people went,
Yeah.
then a lot of people could benefit from it. And I could see some people going in and having a group buy for something like that. Cause
Yeah.
you can, the program there, that I'm in, they run that thing all week long. You know what I mean? They're really well made. I'm sure you would, from an engineering perspective, really appreciate a lot of the stuff behind that I can't articulate. But and there is some cool like studies and research around what they've been able to do. And I know for me, it's just like, it's the dumbbell and the table are the two things that really help me kind of like preserve my what I do have. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to keep a little bit of weight on. So because you know, when something does happen, it's nice to have a little bit to spare, you know?
Problem is I can't put weight on, and I have like nothing to spare. So it's just like, I mean, I'm trying to eat and as much as I can, but it's like, I don't know about you, but eating for me is an issue. It makes my body hurt and more spastic, and nerve pain go up and everything else for whatever reason. And yeah, so I mean, I got a pretty well. I haven't been on it in a while just because I've been busy with everything else, having the time, and had I have a couple of broken things on me. So I have a separated, so I have a sacroiliac separation where my hip and my pelvis, or my pelvis and my sacrum are fully separated. So yeah, my left
Like
side's like
at
kind
your
of
SI
like,
joint?
yeah, like right at the bottom. It's like basically my pelvis is just twisted and not attached essentially. So it's affecting my pudendal nerve, which affects like your everything essentially for you need from like digestion to your bowel movement to urinary tract and ejaculation, all the other nonsense that you kind of need. So it runs through the back of that left side of your leg and to the back of your pelvis and connects to all the different organs. But it's being pinched right now because of just that.
Wow.
And then like you might be able to see it, but like oh, you see my rib right there?
Yeah.
That that's supposed to be connected to my sternum. So I tore the cartilage, broke the cartilage. I guess I tore it originally. Now it's fully torn off. So it's just completely separated. And
I've got a separated rib too, but it's not that far. Like it's still it's up higher basically.
mm,
And so it's kind of still to kind of in there, but well, that's a long ways from your sternum.
yeah, and then because I'm so skinny, so it's like, I mean, I had a really fast metabolism as it was as a kid. When I
Right,
ever gained weight, it was just I'd gain muscle weight. I was on a pretty
right.
strict program stuff, and I program up quite a bit because of just I was gaining too much weight, and weight every 7 pounds is 1 horsepower. So I was underpowered to the bike, and yeah, so I had to kind of adjust to that as far as reps and weight and whatever. So I wasn't gaining muscle weight because like I said, I was on a strict diet from when I was 14. So uh, and it's been good, and I'm still kind of like in that same mindset, which doesn't necessarily help with putting on weight, but I'd rather be healthy than eat shitty and not be able to clear my arteries and get my blood pumping like I used to and
Exactly.
everything else. So I don't know. And I don't really crave anything that's not really too healthy for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've tried several different things, honestly, and actually, when I went vegan for a little while, and I gained more weight doing that than I actually did just eating chicken and whatever turkey or whatever I eat
Right.
because I was eating so much protein with just nuts and beans and different types of proteins that there are like avocados and different vegetables that are. It was really interesting, but it's a hard lifestyle to maintain
Yeah.
in a certain area or like the whole household's on it. So yeah, like when I was in SoCal and Orange County, everyone's trying to be healthy and whatever. So there's vegan spots all over the place. But in Arizona, treat if you don't eat barbecue, you ain't eating food. Like it's kind of
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting you say all that too, because like being vegan is something that I've wanted to try to be able to do. And it's like between making sure you get the right amount of um protein and calories in general, and then also, cross-referencing that with more than likely not having the opportunity to go to the bathroom more than once a day.
mm,
And that the vegan diet, that's a pretty regular, free flowing kind of cycle to be in.
yeah, my body's pretty screwed up. It's like as far as my bowel program goes, it's not a very pleasant one. Like it takes forever because I got that put it on everything. So it's like if I literally am not pushing on a certain part of my leg or like holding my hip up in a certain way, I won't go. It'll just be stuck in there. So it's like,
Wow.
yeah, I went from going like every other day to I can stretch it out to like a week now if I want to, which is not healthy. And
No.
but it's like when I'm traveling or when I was traveling before, it was helpful because I'd be gone and just kind of doing my own thing. I don't never really travel with anybody, so it was easy to, and I'd also kind of starve myself, and like it was like usually very unhealthy for the most part when I do that type of thing, because I just wouldn't eat enough. I'd eat like one or like a small meal in the morning and then like a decent meal at night for whatever days, and kind of dehydrate myself so I wasn't peeing so much if I was on the road or in the middle of a meeting and all that. 'Cause I've been in the middle of speaking engagements, or in the middle of a meeting in someone's office, and pee my pants because I can't like be like, all right, I'm gonna stop talking, bro. I gotta pee real quick, and even if that I gotta wouldn't have enough time to go do it anyway. So um, yeah, so it's just a lifestyle that's not really for everybody. I've just kind of adapted in different ways and just kind of sacrificed to succeed in other areas.
I had an invol in the middle of a radio interview that I was doing one time. I was getting interviewed right there in
Yeah,
the studio. And I just
yeah,
had to keep going, pretend it like it didn't happen.
exactly.
You know
Like,
how
why
that is. It's like, all right, I
uh,
should probably go
life we
now.
live, man? Adapt and figure out what works for you and what you're willing to deal with, kind of thing. I guess
Yeah.
everyone's different, so I tend to be pretty stubborn, and yeah, I'm kind of like I kind of jacked up right now in certain ways. I freaking burned my elbow pretty bad, 3rd-degree burn, like an idiot. Well, it wasn't even really my fault, but it kind of was because I'm always cold, like I said. So I sleep with the space heater next to my bed, and can't feel my elbow, obviously. Like, so I didn't know it was touching the heater. And this is like 2 months now, like on healing. And like, I can show you pictures from the beginning, and it's gnarly, like down to the bone, like straight hole in my arm.
Wow. Yeah. Good thing it's not a place you put pressure on.
I
You
put a
know.
lot of elbow. That's the problem
Oh.
when I'm
Wow.
rolling around in bed and like or moving myself, like just in general. I'm on the ground like at least once a day, just not voluntarily usually, but um, it usually happens just because I'm when I'm working on stuff, and like when I've been cutting metal just recently, like this last week, I've been just folded forward. Like I forgot to I still put sunblock everywhere else, but I forgot to put it on my lower back, and then realized last night my lower back's all sunburned because I was folded over all day in the sun cutting metal.
Wow.
So it's just that's something you don't think about, and then I'll end up on my head because like I'm too big for my chair, but I like how small it is because it's easy to get in and out of my car.
Right.
So I've grown since I've gotten hurt because I got hurt at 17. So it's like obviously I wasn't done growing, I guess, and now I'm just under 6 feet, like 6'11", almost 6 foot. I mean, not 6'11", but 5'11", almost 6 foot. So I grew a couple inches, and yeah, so it's like my chair is pretty tippy as it is, and especially when I'm hanging forward over it, if I'm not like positioned perfectly right and trying to hold like a grinder or something, it usually
Yeah.
doesn't.
That's
Just
impressive that you're grabbing a hold of a grinder, because those things can take on a life of their own when you drop them.
oh yeah, and my dad's like, we're gonna put it on YouTube, blah blah blah, and it's like 'cause I mean, I like the last week, I mean, I've used to figure out a way to do it using a drill, using a chop saw, using whatever I need to do because it's just I have no one else to do it. Like I have had 3 employees just not show up, stop showing up for me to run my CNC. So that's like one thing I'm not able to run right now, which sucks because it's kind of important. I can program it, I can do everything I want to do with it, but I can't put a 40-pound chunk of aluminum in there and
Right.
fixture it down, really change the tooling out and all that other stuff. So it's just one thing that's been down and out. So I've just been using mostly my welder and my just chop saw and grinder and everything else, making everything out of steel. And yeah, unfortunately, not been able to machine anything. And locally, I have the 3D printer's been nice, but it can only get you so far. So
Yeah.
I'd
Right.
be made out of aluminum than 3D printed, in my opinion, as far as just my OCD and perfectionist and whatever else is in me that's screwed up. So I want to. Plus, I like shiny metal, and plastic is it's only so cool. So
Right.
it's so strong.
Um.
But
Good.
no, go ahead.
Um. Well, with all that stuff, so like, what are you focused on? Because I saw that like, what are you focused on fabrication wise right now?
Right now, Well, basically the sim stuff, the sim world kind of, I came in, like, was kind of forced into it, like, for COVID. So I was actually supposed to be going to Sweden in 2020 to race, and that obviously didn't happen. And then when COVID was announced, oh, we still had contractual obligations with my partners and stuff like that. So like a lot of the athletes were not really, well, we got kind of forced to go online. So forced to start doing the sim racing stuff. So I'd learn how to do that stuff really quickly, and learn to build a sim and do stuff that I've never wanted to do, and learn things I never wanted to learn about computers. I could build a whole computer now, and just from learning about that and just the whole sim world. And like I said,
Wow.
I have really bad OCD about learning about everything I want to know about. So I can tell you anything about every company that's in the sim industry at the moment, which ones are coming out, and who's doing what, and who's doing it better and worse. And anyways, so I've been building sim rigs for people, and I actually started a sim team to promote the company as well online. So we've got some good drivers that have been won multiple championships already this year. It's been awesome.
Wow.
And so as far as like them, originally they were just talking about the hand controls, but at that point I was like looking at products, and I'm like, dude, these people are raping people for like a steering wheel is like 2 grand. If you want like an F1 style, like realistic one for pedals that are like simulating realistic stuff, it's like 2 grand, and just like ridiculous amounts of money. So I'm like, all right, well, if these guys are gonna pay for it and they're willing to do so, I might as well figure out what they're doing, how they're doing it better, and who's doing it worse. And so, like I said, I just dive in and figure it all out. So it's like I got a wheel sitting right here that I took apart to see what he did to it to make it in one way or another. And like I got a shifter right here, and got crap everywhere right in my office at the moment. But I just dissect it and see what they're doing better and worse, and I guess Chinese it and make my own version of what they did better.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been the focus on that, and then building the rigs and figuring out how to essentially make a cool legit rig that's easy for people that are in chairs to get in and out of, and people that are able bodied that want to run something that's not seen. Because right now there's a lot of companies that want to get into the industry, but there's no real, they don't understand it. Like I talked to Yokohama a couple months ago when NRX was here, right? Last when were they here? I can't remember when they were here, but when they were here for last season, I guess it was last year now. Shoot. Um, and I was talking to him. I was just joking with him because the paddock was like super deep gravel, and I was like, "This is a joke." I was like, and I know the marketing director really well, and I was like telling her, I was like, "Hey, I need you guys to hook up some tires for this thing. These things are digging in. Like, what do you guys got at the trailer?" And I was just messing around, and she laughed. She's like, "I don't know if we got anything that'll fit," but I was like, "Well, we definitely need to talk for next year." And I was just kind of BSing with her about some stuff for that I wanted to race this year, but she's like, well, honestly, she's like, I've been seeing you been, because she follows me on social media and stuff. And she's like, I've been seeing you been doing a lot of sim stuff, and we have a $25,000 sim budget, but we don't know what to do with it. And I'm like, well, I do. And so there's a lot of companies like that that want to get into the industry, but they don't know where to put their money and how to do it, actually, how to activate it and
Right.
get the actual exposure that they're looking to get, and they get to reach the demographics they're looking to reach. Because the reality is motorsports in the US is dead. Like there's nothing here. There's no, like, if even if you're doing it, there's no purse. You're doing it for a trophy, and you're spending a whole lot of money to do it. And the
Right.
people aren't people that are actually the best. They're the people that have the bigger wallets. So it's like it's kind of sad. So it's not like what it was as a kid, where you're able to be a grassroots racer and be
Right.
able to make agencies and from different corporations that were involved in it. When 2008, they all pulled out when the economy crashed and haven't really gone back into it. And so now they're really involved in sim stuff. Like it's crazy. One of the championships that one of my drivers won, it was Daytona 2400, or 24 hours, sorry, in January. And he won an actual Rolex, like a Daytona Rolex, like he would in real life. And it's like a $50,000 watch or whatever. And then $10,000. So it's like not even worth it to to race motorsport in real life. And at this point in time, it's crazy. It cost me $5,000 to go run my Beamer for a weekend to go practice and to go race for nothing really. So it's like just to have fun, I guess. But I don't know. It's kind of a weird place where the industry's at right now, and people trying to figure out where it's going. So we'll see. It's unless your sponsors are paying you a salary and you're a household name, you're really not gonna make any type of money out of it. Like even when I was racing, I was making enough to do it and survive, but it's not like I was gonna put a savings away. I wasn't gonna be a one day. Like it was just like making enough to get through the year, have a salary to be able to live and eat and travel and all that. And everything, most of my money was made from speaking engagements. So like when 2020 COVID hit, like all my speaking engagements were canceled, and my actual plans for joining the team in Sweden to go race for RX got canceled as well. So my life was like, okay, now what the hell am I gonna do to make money? Because I just lost about $750,000 in actual sponsorship dollars and contract speaking. So it was like that's when things got real serious. And then my machinist, he got shut down. So the controls when they were finished, he wasn't able to make them. And that was when I bought my CNC. I'm like, well, I figured out how to do everything else myself. How hard can it be a machinist? It's a lot harder than I thought. That's why you pay for it. So yeah, I spent a while trying to figure all that out and figured it all out, and figured out that, oh yeah, I can't put this piece of metal in the damn machine because it's too far and too high or whatever. So I'm trying to adapt that because I'm getting sick of people just not wanting to work, which is weird to me. Like my last employee freaking just didn't show up. I still owe him $750. Like it just doesn't make any sense. It's just weird. But I don't know, trying to, and I come from, I guess, I don't know, I try not to expect as much out of people as I expect from myself, because I mean, I'm my biggest critic, and my trainer, when I was a kid, he'd have to make me stop working out. I'd puke and I'd keep going. And he's like, dude, you got to stop when I tell you to stop. And like, I don't know if you know Bubba Stewart and Ryan Dungey. But their trainer was my trainer. That's who was training me. So I was on their program. And yeah, he's like, dude, your body needs a chance to take a rest. Like it needs to take a break. But like when I started, it was addicting. Like when I started seeing the results from me putting in the time in the gym, putting in the time on the bike, putting time in practice, putting in the time with my engineer, with my mechanic, all that, and developing the bike to what I wanted, developing my fitness to where I can go still do 100 laps after I just did a full race and in 110-degree weather, whatever it may be. It was like, okay, it's like steroids. It's like, all right, well, if this is what I'm going to get out of it by putting in the work, I'm going to put in extra work. I want to make sure I work 3 times or 4 times as hard as the guy that's what I'm racing, so I don't have to worry about him. And
Right.
he was just like having to check me, and I'm still doing stuff behind his back, but there was at the time. But it's just, I don't know, it's just a mindset, I guess, that's not really common with most people I've found.
No, it's not. But in the spinal cord injury community, it might be a little more prominent. It seems like a lot of us are like a little too good at pushing ourselves.
Some of us, yes. A lot of us, no. And that's what my problem is like, it's just, I mean, I still do talk to people when they want to talk or whatever. When I was able to go before COVID, now everyone is kind of weird, but talk to random people in either hospitals that call me up and new patients or whatever, or just different people that they're friends of friends and want me to go talk to them. And I'll ask them straight up, like, how often you fall out of your chair? And like, they'll tell me, like, some guys would be tough guys and be like, oh man, I don't ever fall out of my chair or whatever, and blah, 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 or maybe a month ago or this and that. And it's like, there's no right or wrong answer, man. I'm asking, I'm curious, and some guys would be honest and tell me like yesterday or whatever it may be. And I'll just tell them straight up, like, dude, I fall out of my chair probably at least once a day, because I'm not proud of it. It's just like, I don't know if I can do it or not. And so I'll push myself to see if I can do it, or if I can get through this gravel patch and get across the street and whatever I need to do. Because if I, like, I remember my first year of being injured, I would fall out of my chair and in my room or whatever. And have my door closed, me yelling and screaming, punching the ground, cussing or whatever. And my mom come in and freak out, like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? What's going on? Let me help you up." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "I'm fine, mom. I'm doing therapy." She's like, "What do you mean you're doing therapy?" I'm like, "Well, this was in the middle of the city, and I was rolling around, and I fell out of my chair, and you weren't there, or nobody else was there. No one else was around. What am I gonna do? Just lay there and hope someone comes? Like, no, I got to figure out how to get back in this thing."
Right.
So if I was like, if I'm still cussing and yelling in an hour, then yeah, I'll take some help. But I got to figure this out. So yeah, it's just I don't know. I guess it's just my brain is a little screwed up. My stubbornness has gotten me where I am. Like I'd be pushing to the bus stop, and the bus would pass me like right before I get like 100 yards from. I could see the bench, and the bus passed me, and I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here for 45 minutes and wait. I'll just push the next one, and I'll push the next one. And then I was like, so that's what like built up my upper body strength. And I started cutting my backrest down and getting my balance, my core back, because it would force me to just figure it out. And I kind of gauge what was going to happen, kind of like just assess, all right, well, this bump's going to throw me this way, so I better like counterbalance or whatever, like anticipate it and do it. And then yeah, work my way. Like I'm super out of shape right now, which is pissing me off because I got COVID in January and then
Oh,
burned
no.
my. But there's just like a bunch of crap that went down this year that was kind of screwed up that put me behind, and then not having the actual necessity to be in shape to go race and not crashing into someone's McLaren or something um, has also been like unmotivating. So it's like, all right, where is this all going? But yeah, I mean, before I was doing 5 minute miles, 10 miles a day, 5 minute miles. So that was like my either 5 to 10 miles what I was looking for, and I was doing 5 minutes, and people would trip out when I pass them on a bike or pass them jogging, and I was doing it there, and so now my bearings are all shot, but I got replaced. But um, yeah, as long as the flat surface, I was moving, and now I'm pretty far off that. I'm at like a 7 minute mile, but it's yeah, it is what it is, and just got to get my endurance back, my strength back. But I tried to start working out again recently, and like got started like I mean I gained muscle really quickly, and I mean I've got a pretty good understanding of the body and how it works, and everything else. Like I said, I've been training and been on a regimen for a while. So as far as and I've learned a lot about the body and how just different things are connected and what muscles are what and which ones do what and how to make them function. And I started getting too strong for my core. And with my rib being the way it is, my hip being the way it is, like I was having to do more reps, which was cool because I was getting the stamina and endurance back, but like I was trying to get strength as well and like everything else. And so I was like trying to like incline or press bench press and stuff, and I'm crushing my core because my ribs not attached to my freaking sternum anymore, and all
Right.
those. So, and like doing curls or whatever, like to one side's easy because I can lean to the left because I got actual stability is still connected. But when I lean to the right, it's just like, oh, I'm falling over. So I'm doing like a double workout, holding on with one arm and
Right.
lifting with. It's just so I ended up messing up myself worse than I did, and I come out of the gym just my rib be freaking killing me, and my hip be all jacked up, and so and then I got sick. So it was just minor setback. So I got to get back on that programming. Once you like, that's the whole aspect behind keeping spinning. It's like once you stop moving forward, it's just like once you stop moving, period, it's hard to get back on that rhythm and start moving and keep moving in the right direction. And that's what the whole keeping spinning motto is whatever goal you're looking to get to, whatever you're trying to achieve, you just keep moving, whether you're going 5 miles an hour, 500 miles an hour, just make sure you keep the momentum up because it's hard to build that momentum back once you lose it. So that's where, and then I've also been just so busy with everything else. It's like, I look at the clock and I'm like, it's freaking 8 o'clock already. What the hell? How did it get so late? Like,
Right.
and I mean, I'm up at 3 or 4 every day, and it's just still not enough time. I mean, I sleep 3 or 4 hours max, and it's still not enough. I don't have enough time. And then not only because I mean, I kind of adjusted to that lifestyle because of my body doesn't like to sleep, doesn't like to lay down. I'm in more pain in bed than I am working. Like you said, moving around helps with being warm and everything else. So yeah,
Right.
me opposed to just sitting in one spot or me like getting out of my car, going places and doing things. My pain level, my spasticity level is just a lot lower. and but otherwise I'll just stay at a typical 7 or 8 with nerve pain,
Yeah.
and it's kind of shitty,
Yeah,
which I'm sure, like,
definitely.
and
Go ahead, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I don't know about your injury. Like, I don't know what your level is. I know you got hurt riding BMX, right?
I did, yeah, breach contract. Um, my parents had I just signed with Yamaha 3 days before, and a bunch of other people for 3 years, and my parents had them writing contract that I couldn't touch any of my other wheeled sports. I guess I just got a new freaking dirt bike for Mammoth for the national, and so I had my practice bike, my race bike. I only rode it once just for the race because I had kept it fresh, and it was just all done and wasn't allowed to touch it. So the way I got into road racing was by accident, to be honest. So I'll kind of back up a little bit. So I wanted never even watched a road race my entire life, and I wanted to be a motocross racer, man, since I was a baby kid, since I can remember. So I do remember it too. I was 2 years old and I saw a picture of my dad, and he was jumping his dirt bike. I'm like, all right, that's what I want to do. So I always had like little dirt bikes where I'd be like jumping them while we're driving the hills and stuff or whatever and all that. But so when I was 15 and a half or so, or about 15, about to turn 15 and a half, when I could ride a motorcycle, I worked full time since I was uh 14, I guess. And then
Wow.
I was working for my dad or whoever when I could, when I was allowed to, since I was like 11, and was lucky enough to have like family with businesses and stuff that I can work for during the summertime and make some money because I always wanted something, and my parents made me, if I wanted it, I had to pay for it, and so it was what it was. But um, I went on independent studies. Well, they kind of made me go on independent studies. They recommended it to my parents my freshman year. I was missing so much school for practices, which I never ditched a day in my life. My parents were the ones signing me out. So it was like we just were traveling and we were going to practice and we were doing whatever, but I was missing school and I was getting my schoolwork done. Still in all of the accelerated classes, all my grades are, I've never had a C. I always had an A and a B because I didn't accept anything lower personally. And so and then I was engaged as a kid, all that advanced stuff. So like when I got to high school, they wanted me to retake stuff I took in like 6th grade and 7th grade. And I'm like, this is stupid. I already took this class. Like, why would I take it again? And like, well, it didn't count towards college credits. I'm like, well, I'm not going to college, so it's not a big deal. I don't really care. Give me the right class. Otherwise, I'm just going to be bored. And so, anyways, ended up doing independent studies sophomore year. And so at that point, that's when I started working full time with my dad. I'd go to work with him and leave at 5 in the morning or whatever, 4:30, get home by like 2:30, and jump on my bike or whatever, jog to the gym and go get my training routine in, do my homework in the evening, and go to bed around 10:30, and then do it all over again the next day. So that was kind of like my regimen. When racing got serious in like 8th grade, my parents like made me choose. I've done every sport for the most part, um, and I was playing Pop Warner, and like you can't do both. You got to like pick, and it's getting expensive and blah blah blah, and you're moving up, and we got to like so whatever. You can't do anyways. So that's how it kind of went from one way to the other, and I just chose. There was no question. I chose racing, and so when I was working, we were having to commute, and I was like, I don't know, like 30 or 40 minute commute to my dad's where his business was, and I was gonna take over his truck, and it was like on a 6-inch lift, like 35s or whatever, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna be working to pay for insurance for a 4-wheel drive truck and for paying for the gas. Like this is a joke, because I'd give half my paycheck to my parents because they wanted to know that I was as committed as they were, because they're obviously weren't they're just blue collar, they weren't loaded, they're just for average people. My dad was there, whatever. So yes, I give him half the paycheck, and I'm like, I can't give you guys. I mean, I'm not gonna not have any money to spend on like girls or going out and having a good time or all this other stuff that I want to do. So like, we got to work something out here. So I need a street bike. And they always said that I couldn't have a street bike until I moved out till I was 18. And so we like had a conversational argument, whatever. And after 2 hours of that, we decided on. My dad's like, "All right, fine. If you're gonna get a street bike, you're gonna learn how to ride it, and you're gonna do it right. You're not gonna just jump on this thing and have." And honestly, when I got on it, I didn't expect what to be what it was. It was like shooting a gun for the first time, like having that much power in your hand, and it's not flipping like being on a motocross bike. It slips before it grips, and but on a street bike, you whack that throttle on, and you're going, or you're going over backwards. But so it was a new experience. So and he started making some phone calls to different track day promoters, telling them my background. And being 15, you're not really allowed to ride them. You can't ride at Laguna Seca. You can't ride at Sonoma, like all the California tracks. So like there's only certain tracks you're able to ride on. And there happened to be a track day, and he talked to the promoter. He talked to him, told him my background and all that. And he's like, "All right, yeah, we'd love to have him out, blah blah blah, and come out to set him up with one of the pro instructors and see what we can do." And so I got there, didn't know anything. I wasn't even allowed to ride the bike before I even got there. So like my first time on the bike, and I took it around the block, but that was freaking just barely like leaving 3,000 RPM.
Right.
And so he's like, "All right," and I meet the guy, and he seems like a nice guy, or whatever. And this is even a crazier story when I'll finish it off. It's kind of sad, but he's like, "All right, I'm gonna follow you around, see what you can do, and we'll go from there." And so I go in and freaking turn one, stick my freaking foot out like a dirt bike rider, like totally stupid. Like, I'm going hella fast right now. I just did not know what to do. And so like turn 3 or 4 or 5 when it's actually around, able to get around me safely, and comes around, taps his tail, pulls me in like through the infield roads, and he's like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing? So you're gonna kill for someone else out there?" And I'm thinking on the way in, I'm like, "I must be doing something right." He's already pulling me in, giving me some advice, cool. And the opposite. He's like, "Dude, you're gonna kill yourself, someone else out here, man. You used to ride dirt bikes, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did. How did you know?" He's like, "Because you're doing the complete opposite. You're expecting a bump, you're expecting a rut, you're trying to lay the bike over like you would on a motocross bike and stay square and stay ready and have your shoulder arms out." And he's like, "This track's the same every lap, dude. It's not going to change aside from the temperature and your actual everything else." So he's like, "What you want to do is change the center of gravity and put more rubber on the ground. And whoever has the most rubber on the ground coming out of the corner is able to whack it on a lot harder because it's not going to spin up or whatever, because you're only running on like your pinky's worth of grip, like your tread. So if you're able to put more than the other guy and hang off further, then you got more tire on the ground to give the throttle, to get more throttle to come in out of the corner, get more corner speed out of it." And once he said that, and he's like, "And basically the G forces will just hold you on the bike." I'm like, "Well, I'm thinking, hang off the bike. Like, what do you mean? I'm gonna fall off this thing." And so, but you feel it, and so you just hang off. And if easiest way, I don't know if you've ever ridden a street bike or not or whatever. But yeah, the easiest way I can explain dragging knee or whatever. It's like when you go on a roller coaster and they go like through a corkscrew, and it's like the G forces are pushing you sideways as opposed to down, which was a totally new weird experience. It was pretty cool. But yeah, once you said that, it was like dropping seconds, like 5, 10, 15 seconds at a time. Because I mean, now it's my first session. I was like maybe a minute off what average pace was for like a local track rider. And so I just started just chopping off time. And the more I understood the bike, more I understood how it handled, more I got it. And then by the end of the day, I was actually faster than my instructor. And he was on a full built bike, and I was on a bone stock freaking six. So he was upset about it. And from that day, felt grudge against me. But then at that point, I had borrowed leathers from a buddy and just borrowed everything, all the gear that I needed to go ride on a track. And then we bought in tires, which tires are not cheap for race bikes. And so my dad was talking to the owner of the track day promotion deal, and he's like telling my dad that I show real potential or whatever, blah blah blah. And it just happened to be there's 2 weekends out of the year that they host for getting your license for road racing. And well, I don't know if it's not probably not like that anymore because they were trying to get people into it, so they wanted to spend money. But back then you had to actually qualify and get your points for AMA and all those other stuff. But he's like, well, we got 3-day weekend and you got paid for today. He's like, I'm going to come through the rest of the weekend. You already bought the tires. You're already here. He's like, why don't you guys go back and have dinner, have a discussion, and talk about it? But there could be a real potential future here for him. And so we went to dinner and talked about it. And for me, it's like, I get to ride on the track more. There's no question. I'm like, sure, either one way or another, I'm done. So we went back the next day, and he's like, I don't normally recommend people testing out on the first, let alone first time on the bike, but like first time at the track or in general. But like, he's like, usually you should just put some time in, but I think he can do it if he wants to do it. And so I ended up testing out my first weekend, and yeah, it ended up being like third fastest at the track that weekend, which is on a bone stock bike. Which so doors at that point started flying open. He became my first sponsor, which was huge because seat time is everything, and track days aren't cheap. Like $350 for a track day, so it's that was super huge. And then he had a lot of influence with different companies and stuff like that, so I was able to connect with different people. And yeah, I just every time I got on the bike got faster and got better, and I was always healthy. Like on a motocross bike, I was 90% or whatever. I was healing from this injury or that injury or whatever. Once I was fully 100%, and because you don't want to crash on a street bike because it's expensive, and it definitely you're going a lot faster. Um, so yeah, and then once I was training and stuff, it was night and day. And then I was doing everything wrong according to everyone. You're supposed to start with dirt track, but I was going faster than them, so they couldn't really say anything. And it just worked out to be that was like my new career. So at that point, I wasn't allowed to touch I mean, I've been sponsored for skating in junior high, for skateboarding or whatever, and I've snowboarded. I still allowed to snowboard, but anything with wheels, it was taken away from bicycles and all that other nonsense. So it was in contract that I wasn't allowed to ride anything with wheels, and that's where that came from when I wasn't allowed to touch my dirt bike that was new, and I'm like looking at it sitting there like nice and pretty and clean. And but I accepted it. I was fine with it, and I was able to ride my road bike. And yeah, my buddies called me up and they're like, "Yeah, we just built a 6-pack," and they knew my normal route. I got like a 40 to. I had two different routes, like a 40-mile route and a 60-mile route, and that I would do every day or whatever. And so I was on a shorter one. I was heading that direction, and they called me up, and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'm like 10 miles away. I'll be right there." And so I show up, and these things, like half of the guys are actually like Rampage athletes, Red Bull athletes, and professional mountain bikers and such. So the jumps were no joke. But to me, it was like it's nothing I've never done before. I grew up racing, went from BMX to motocross to road racing, and so I just hadn't been on a bicycle for 2 years. And being on, you got to get used to whatever bicycle you're riding, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was like, sitting there, and I'm telling my buddies, they're all trying to figure out who's gonna jump first. Nobody's gonna test on me, and they're like, "Well, I'm telling them, well, my blood pressure's going down, guys, and I got a date tonight, and I'm gotta go eat dinner with whatever. I gotta go." And I was like, "Give me your bike. I'll test them out for you." And to me, it's like pain is temporary, pride lasts forever, kind of thing. Be proud of what you do, and I figured out pain lasts quite a while too after that. But so I went up, dropped in, and yeah, they threw me so high in the air, like I was so high in the trees. I was like, "Holy shit!" And they're straight up, straight down jumps, like they're peaky, and one after another. So if you didn't land like butter, like you weren't going to land very well, and it wasn't going to go over you very well. So I tossed the bike in the air, flat bottom, just landed on my heels or my feet or whatever, from like 20 feet in the air, and crawled off the trail, and I couldn't walk. I don't know if I cracked my heel or bruised my heel or whatever, but it just freaking hurt. And I'll never know, I guess, because I never walk again at this point. But anyways, two of my buddies that I basically mentored growing up, taught them how to build dirt jumps. They're a couple of years younger than I was. They went, and then that was when the whole ego thing set in. They hit the jump and they stacked it. They cased hard, both of them, but they didn't crash. And I'm like, all right, well, if these guys did it, like, I'm not gonna let some mounds of dirt defeat me. Like, I got to prove it to myself, not even anybody else, that I can still do this. Like, this is what I grew up. So I went back up, dropped in again, I stacked also, cased it, and I mean I did the jump, but in my head that's not doing it to me. I gotta grease it. I gotta do it nice and smooth, buttery. And so I went up a third time, threw a little style in, nice little turn down or whatever, and like landed like a race pump, like a which on a race bike. I got used to the bike, got the feeling of it, size of it, and all that, and just nice and smooth. I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is why I used to do this. This feels good. And that was when my ego really kicked in and got ego checked hard. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna mic drop this, and I'm gonna just silently go up to the top. I'm gonna kill this whole 6-pack and freaking just walk away and go on my day. And they progressively got bigger. So the approach is super sketchy in general. Like you're on 2x6 because it was all muddy and through trees or whatever. And so dropped in with a little more speed and missed the lip by like where we were hitting it, like the size of the width of your cell phone. And it wasn't packed right there because we weren't hitting it there. And just basically went straight through the lip. Superman dove in the next lip in front of me like a lawn dart. And yeah, I just wasn't in any pain. It was like I was in a dark room and I heard everyone talking around me and asking them to roll me over. And I feel like I had my arm over my head or whatever. I don't know if I did or not. Like just like this or whatever. And like, we're not going to touch you. You could be really hurt. We don't want to mess you up anymore. And I'm like, well, you guys my friends or what? Like, I mean, roll me over. I'm face down in the dirt. I'm inhaling just dust here. Like, and they're like, no, we're not going to touch you. I'm like, all right, well, screw you guys. And I'll do it myself. And I just remember just trying to flip myself over. And at that point, I just like snapped out of my body and just was watching everything from above, like 30 feet above, with this real bright entity next to me. And wasn't in any pain. It didn't occur to me I'd broken my neck and I've knocked myself out plenty of times when I'd fallen. So it was just another, I thought I got a concussion or whatever. And it was like the most blissful thing I've ever experienced, and just total peace. And just watch the ambulance get there, watch the fire truck get there, watch my parents get there, watch them pull me off the trail put me on the gurney. And while all this is going on, according to the paramedic, I never lost consciousness once. I answered all their questions. I mean, I've answered their concussion questions plenty of times. Like, I mean, I could recite them to you at this point because just like, what day is it? What's your name? Where are you from? Blah, 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 all the other nonsense. And according to them, I answered them all perfectly correct. But I don't remember any of it. I was just up in this real blissful, over the top state or whatever, out of body state, and watching it all. And then I just remember hearing, do you want to stay or do you want to go? I don't know if it was like an audible thing or was it my head or whatever. And I don't know actually if I verbalized it. Probably it was just audible in my head. But I just remember thinking or saying like, well, what kind of question is that? Of course I want to stay. I'm not done yet. Like I literally I was getting ready for Daytona. I was training for Daytona. And so at that moment, right when I said that, I snapped back in my body and I was laying on the gurney and I was looking at my parents standing over me. And I just started apologizing and started crying. And they're like, what are you apologizing for? Like, chill out. Like, just like, let's just handle this with that problem at hand and go from there. Like, just relax. And I knew at that point, like, I disrespected their wishes. I just, like I said, broke contract and wasn't supposed to be on that bike in general. And just, I did everything wrong kind of thing and felt bad. And so like, stop apologizing, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that's kind of how that went down. And then according to the actual paramedics in the helicopter from the medevac or whatever, I was talking a bunch of crap to them because telling them that I needed better drugs and that my pain tolerance was too high, and that my stepdad's mom was a nursing supervisor at the hospital they came from. So when they got back to the hospital, they're just like, dude, your grandson's a piece of work. Like he was telling us all kinds of nonsense in the helicopter and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, the whole time in ICU, because like I'm C4-5, I fractured C4 and 5, and then destroyed C6. Like, so I don't have a C6. They rebuilt it out of titanium, and luckily that my injury level is at C6. But just like I said, fractured C4 and 5. But so I'm fused from in the back from C3 to C7, and then in the front from like C4 or I don't remember, but something. They built some cage and then they put something around it or whatever. But so they went in the back and front. So I basically cut my head off my body, so it wasn't connected anymore, essentially. And so they had to hang weights on my halo off my bed, like because they had to pull my spine straight before they could actually do surgery and separate it and get all the pieces out. 'cause like I said, it's like a bottle cap and compressed. So they stretched my stuff out, whatever. And yeah, I mean, I don't remember any of it obviously, but yeah, it was just it was a crazy experience, I guess, and shitty for my parents and sucked. But yeah, they just I remember them telling me that I was never gonna do anything again. Like, and I don't know, it was a weird thing. I'm sure you got all the same situation where they're like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, if there was no like, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. Like, you can still do this. It's like, no, you can't do this. You can't do. There's a whole list of everything that you can't do. And the biggest issue is everyone listens to the doctor. Not everyone, but a lot of people listen to the doctors or people that are influenced on their lives. And even able-bodied people are just like, no, you're from the ghetto. You can't achieve that. Whatever. You can't. You live in this place. You're from this country. You're from this town. You can't do it. And it's like, no, the reality is I can do it and I'm going to do it and you're going to watch me. And so my first questions I asked is, can I still have sex and have kids? And can I race still? And the doctor's like, well, one, yeah, you maybe can. I don't know. You're going to have to find out on your own because there's like the whole reverse ejaculation thing or whatever that I've learned about. And then the other one, he's like, racing doesn't look like it's in your future anymore. And I'm like, all right, well, watch me. I'm gonna race something, whether it's a freaking spaceship or submarine or helicopter or whatever. I'll figure it out. And at that point, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. I could move my wrist. I just did this. Was my throttle hand. And I was laying down and I just moved my wrist. And I was like, they're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And because when I told them that, they're like, all right, well, let's find out then. They're using a little needle prick thing. They're pricking my body all over the place. And like, I remember them prick my leg up and thinking like, is that my foot? Like, oh shoot, that is my foot. Not
Right.
even, and just like so. But they were stoked that I could move my wrist. Like, oh, I could use a power chair. And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna use a power chair. Like, I'll figure this out. And they're like, you can't use a manual chair, dude. You can't move. I was like, I'll figure it out, dude. And so like the first time they put me in a chair, I couldn't use it. I couldn't move at all. I'd pick my hands up and smack myself in the face. Like once I was able to use my arms a little bit better, and they got better. And yeah, so it was like just an interesting. I had 3 therapists quit on me in rehab because they didn't like that. I didn't like that they were trying to teach me how to live my life, and I've always been one to figure out my own way, whether I'm doing one thing or another, and it's usually different than most people. And the fact that they're trying to tell me how to do it, and they're able bodied, I'm like, all right, dude, I'll figure this out. Like you're telling me some nonsense, and I'm trying to give me some tool that if I forget at home, how the hell am I going to eat? Because you're telling me I need to use this thing to hold a fork. And so
Right.
it just, I don't want tools. I'll figure it out whether I got to freaking use my freaking hands to pick up the bowl and put them like dump it in my mouth or whatever it may be. And wouldn't say that, but I would joke and be like, well, I'll have my mom feed me, or I'll find a pretty girl to feed me, or whatever kind of thing. And they get pissed about that. And yeah, and then I kicked all the nurses out of my room, period, because they dropped me the first time they put me in my chair, and they
Wow.
didn't English, so I was pissed about that. And so I don't know. I was just like, I'm not a good patient. I'm a terrible patient, and I hate doctors. And I always have been. Like I've wrapped my own cast ever since I was a kid. Like I'd literally bring handlebars into the doctor's office, and I was there enough that we had a relationship to where he would allow me to. And yeah, I'd bring handlebars in and I'd mold them around my cast so I can actually still practice. And it just was what it was. That's how I lived my life. It's just you can't stop. And I, I had the same mentality, I guess you'd say, but I thought I was going to walk out of there, which obviously I didn't. And um, yeah, it was just like really weird to have the flip of the script where I didn't talk much before. I mean, I talked and not whatever. I wasn't a mute, but like I didn't have to talk. It's like give me a piece of equipment and I'll perform, and then let my actions speak for me. I've always been taught actions speak louder than words, so that was kind of how it was for me back then. Now I've learned how to talk a lot more and
Right.
elaborate on what I want to do, what I don't want to do, and stuff. So um, back then it was like, I mean, I had more respect and more support when I was 14, 15 years old because I was doing the same thing that people who are 30 or 40 or 20 or whatever years, whatever their age was, at professional level, better than they were as a kid. And so to not have that type of support, that type of respect was really interesting, especially for my parents. Parents were always like, you got this, you can do it, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, to lose that was just weird. And then they didn't want me racing anything ever again. So I was like, I had to do it all myself as far as figuring out how I was going to do it, what I was going to do, and designing the controls. And when I came up with the design, nobody wanted help. They thought I was nuts. And I didn't know how to design and develop product. I mean, actually, I was kicked out of school when I was 15. So I just, they kicked me out of independent studies, which is ironic, for doing exactly what they told me to do. And I was just on the road for a month. You got to check in every once a week or whatever back then. And I was on the road one time for 3 months. And I'm not sorry, not 3 months, for a month, like 3 or 4 weeks. And I had done all my homework, done all my work, checked in with my teacher once a week on the phone, and came back on a huge high, like just won a bunch of freaking races. And at that point, there's big nationals that we were at, and like a lot of scouts or whatever, not scouts, but team owners and some people watching, because one of the tracks was in Utah. It just got made, and there was a lot of people that were practicing for the AMA race the following weekend, and just a lot of eyeballs. And I took a win in all 3 classes, and I won 750 class in my 600. That was underpowered in general. And so, yeah, all the way home, my phone was just blowing up. My dad's phone was just blowing up with people that wanted to support and figure stuff out. And so I came to school stoked. I got on a major win high, and had a stack of paper, dude, probably more than I've ever done in school in general. And I was like, my teacher hated me, as it was. So I was like, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. How's you been? This and that. She's like, I was like, where do I put this? And I had my stack of paper, my homework. And she's like, you could put it over there in the circular file. I'm like, the circular file? Yeah, she's like, the trash can right over there. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I requested for you to be removed from the program. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you guys are the ones who told me to get in this program for the same reason that I'm telling you. And the reason I've been gone, I've checked in with you every freaking step of the way, let you know what's going on. And here's all my work. Like, what did I do wrong? So I don't see a problem here. On top of that, I'm working full time, I'm racing full time, and I'm still getting my work done full time. Like, I'm training full time. So I can't go to school. I don't have time for it. And she was just like, I don't know what to tell you. The truancy officer will be at your guys' house in 5 days if you don't re-enlist in school. And then my mom freaked out, and I was about to turn 16 so I could take my GED. And at that point, like I said, things were just starting to all come together. And so my mom's not a teacher, but she doesn't know how to create a curriculum or anything like that. So I was like, I'm just gonna take my GED. It's all good. So she enrolled me in homeschooling, and I went back on the road again, did really well all the races I was at. And yeah, and then I came back, took my GED. You're supposed to take it in like 5 days or something. I took it in 2. I was like, give me the hardest test first, and did the hardest test, and she finished before everybody else. And chick was like, are you sure you're done? You're confident in these? I'm like, yeah, they're good. And came back, finished the last 2, and that was it. Got my GED, called it a day, and ended up working out perfect because broke my neck when I was 17. So didn't have to go to school, trying to figure out life again. And then on top of that, graduate or whatever. But yeah, so it was a interesting, ironically serendipitous way of things working out.
Yeah, seriously.
So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell as far as that goes. But it's just yeah, it's been really weird, man, trying to find people to believe in it. Now people are actually supporting in the sport. Like, I remember my first time back to the track, um everyone wanted, like, my friends, people, my sponsors dropped me faster than they picked me up. It was crazy. I mean, I was no longer used to that. I was their billboard that was broken. No one wants to look at a shattered window kind of thing. So they said, best of luck, let us know when you're back on a bike or whatever, and yeah, we'll see you later. And so when I got back to the track, I just trying to talk to my friends was like I had the plague, like I had freaking something they were gonna catch, and like they didn't want to. There was something that they didn't want us to look at. They didn't. It was a reality for all of them, obviously, that they didn't want to even think about. So it was like a really cold feeling. And so I'm like, this is kind of screwed up. But I understand, I guess, for the most part, where they were coming from. But yeah, it was a trip. So when I designed the controls, I I had to push myself to the store because my dad didn't want to take me to go get the metal. So I pushed myself to like Ace Hardware or whatever down the street and got um, all the hardware I needed, got the metal I needed, like flat strap and all that. I had to go back twice to get it because it was just too much to carry on my lap and pain in the ass kept falling off of it. And so got back home and he wouldn't let me use the chop saw or the welder. So I marked it all out, measured it, drew them all out for him, and made him come out and cut them and weld them. And so that's how I made the first set and went through like 3 different iterations. I still have them. I made them for a go-kart, and then they didn't want to tell me to go pick up the go-kart either. But like I said, if I wanted something, I bought it, and I built a freaking $10,000 or 50 at the time. It was when I was racing, and a bunch of I had a bunch of crap that I could sell, so I just kept selling stuff to build something to go race. And so I found this cart for like $1,000, and when I had them talk to me to go and pick me up, or go and pick me up, and uh, my dad fought me the whole way up there and talking nonsense and wanted me to have it, blah blah blah, and telling me I was stupid and whatever. So I developed them for a cart originally, and yeah, so I went through a couple iterations for that to be able to control the cart because the quad, and because I had buddies that had seen that would race their paras that have like handlebars or whatever set up with twist out and all that, and the levers for brakes, which I couldn't use obviously, and so I'm like, don't work. So I figured out like the whole push pull system like I have now kind of thing, and throttle, and yeah, so that's how they started. And then from there to take them to like the machine shop, I didn't know how to go actually produce like something like that. So it was I thought the machine shops were the engineers. So I was like going to all the shops thinking like, all right, here's my drawing. Like, I mean, I did CAD for my dad as a kid. So I mean, and I've always drawn my entire life. I just never drew with the ruler that much. And now I'd learn how to draw with the ruler a lot more. And so and be more patient, but you know, to hold a pencil. But yeah, so I was going there and showing them the drawing and telling them my idea and blah blah blah. And they're like, well, "We're not engineers. We need dimension drawings." It was a dimension drawing. So I'd looked that up, and I mean, YouTube. I'm web educated. I basically YouTube and Googled everything I needed to know, and so I figured I needed CAD or SolidWorks to do that, and was going to buy CAD, and then I came across SolidWorks, and I was like, "Wow, this is like cheating. This is like CAD, but way better." And a lot more expensive actually. But yeah, so I ended up selling a bunch of crap and getting like a little loan to pay for the software and computer and all that. And taught myself how to use it on, like I said, YouTube, and they have pretty good educational tutorials in there. And the more I used, the better I got. And brought them back to the drawings, and they still didn't want to help. So I'm like, all right, this is whatever. And my mom's person, one of the person people she worked with, her husband owned a machine shop. So he's like, I'd be happy to help him. And then so I brought him in my CAD for my SolidWorks drawings. And he's like, all right, dude. He's like, this is probably why no one wanted to help you because he's like, I can make these. He's like, but they're going to be a pain in the ass to make. They're going to cost you a fortune. And you can, let me just run you through the machine shop real quick and let you see how a machine works because it's like a lot different. And he's like, they're really pretty. They function, but they're going to be a lot of time to be cut. And he's like, oh, so if you simplify them, let's prove the concept, make sure it works, which is why the first set's really rudimentary. And then go from there. And so he let me basically work with them alongside him in the machine shop for like a month. And so I'd drive up there and took my computer up there and was just working. And he redo one part at a time and developing it, making it simplified. And so that's how I started with it. And then from there, figured out how it whole situation worked and kept going back and forth with getting them patented, not getting patented, and everyone it got a 50-50 answer as far as that goes. Is like it's not worth it. China will take it, someone else will take it. You just got to change one little minor thing, and your patent's no longer valid, and you're going to be in court fighting battles of nonsense that you probably don't want to pay money for, and it's all right. And other people are just like, be first to market with it, make the best product, like kind of like Razor Scooter. It's like be the best, one with the best, be known, and basically the people will come to you. And that's probably the way I should have went, but the value that they've gained, just people always ask why they patented, like corporations that I've talked to about selling them to and stuff, and that they just like to hear that, and it really means nothing. I've freaking whatever breached or screwed my patent over several times just redesigning the controls in different ways. And I mean, I went through 5 attorneys to find the right attorney for the patent, because I talked to them, I'd set it right in front of their faces, I'd give them the controls and tell them how they operated and blah blah blah. And if they wouldn't pick a pencil or whatever, and I'd have them try to reiterate what I said to them, and I'm like, dude, if you guys can't even protect my patent the way that I need it to protect it, or even understand what's going on and comprehend the controls when they're sitting right in front of you, I can go do this myself. I'll go look it up on YouTube like I have everything else, and Google and do like write my patent out myself. And so I finally got a guy from a buddy of mine from one of the race teams I was talking to, and he's like, this guy was an ex engineer before he became an attorney, and a patent attorney, and blah blah blah. He's a perfect guy to talk to, and the guy's been super cool, and actually became like a whatever you call a so-called fan or whatever, and did everything for free. And he washed all his costs, his attorney costs, and he's like, just had to pay for all the actual filing and everything, but fought for the, like I said, I screwed myself over by posting that video and stuff and fought the actual patent board and all that nonsense to like, get it approved, and has been super cool and helpful and solid dude. So it's just, I've learned so much along the way. And now even with the sim stuff, so like it's just like from the electronic side of things to computers to software to freaking pretty much everything. It's like I wear out too many hats and not enough help, and have too big of dreams and not a big enough wallet. So it just is what it is, and not enough time in the day. But working on it. So it's been an interesting journey to say the least. And yeah, still to this day, it's like it's kind of good to be like, that's why I like Scandinavia. I raced in Finland for a while, or for a year, and I was trying to get into RX here. And when GRC was around, know what Red Bull GRC was, and working with the rally team up in Seattle, Dirtfish, and they want to prove me with everything to drive. They had their best instructor certify me or whatever, and I bested his time, and he's like, yeah, dude, you cut this down, you're good to go. And they wouldn't approve me for, like, I was 99% approved for GRC for them to allow me to race. And I'm like, this is some BS, dude. Like, you guys are. And then they asked me to bring my BMW out to the freaking Long Beach race, and I'm like, it's a road course car, bro. Like, you want me to jump my road course car and put it to gravel? And like, you're high. Like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not proving it to you. Like, you got a whole team here that's validating the fact that I can do what I'm saying I could do. And so like this went on for like 3 years of me fighting them till they actually went out. It's a long story there, but the Scandinavians were cool as hell, dude. Like people from Finland, Sweden, and all those guys, they're straight up. Like they'll tell you how it is. They either like you or they don't. And like either I can help you or fuck off, like walk away. And I appreciate that a lot more than someone being like, man, this is amazing, this is incredible. Like, yeah, I'd love to help. Here's my card, call me tomorrow. And have no answer, just in dial tone. Like, all right, this is how California works, this is how LA works, or whatever. I got it, understand. So the fact that they were able to just say, no, sorry, I can't help you, but this guy might be able to, or so this or whatever, there's no BS. It's just like cut and dry. I like it much better. And that's when I was there. First 2 questions I got asked was like, what do you like? For one, did you vote for Trump? And 2, what are you doing in our country? How did you find out about us? And I'm just, well, number 1, I've been taught not to talk politics, and 2, you're racing rally cars, and they'd trip out. But yeah, you race rallycross, or you're rally in general, or you play hockey in Scandinavia, you're kind of a hero, a legend, or whatever. So they're like, super curious. I got a lot of press there just from being in a chair, and the fact that I was racing one of the top teams there and stuff. So they invited me over because they watched me go through all the crap with them. Like, FIA would be happy to approve you. And the actual shit that I had to go through for get approved, like the physical and stuff, was a joke. Like, it was so much stuff just to get the FIA to approve it, but they approved me and it was good to go. But yeah, so that was an awesome experience, and I was looking forward to going back to Sweden for that. But I was actually supposed to go there this year as well. But uh, I decided to stay home and finish the controls and basically get them on the market and have an income stream come in, as opposed to waiting longer because people keep just asking and asking. And then the sim stuff came up, and I'm like, all right, now people are asking for the sim stuff. And then I found out that I can actually license people to, because I was more worried about the um, liability aspect of it and being sued for someone saying the controls screwed up. And that's why I took out this dude's McLaren or Ferrari or whatever. And right, this is why I hurt myself again. And so I was like, all right, how do I protect myself from that? Like, do I got to have like a waiver kind of thing, or do I got to have like a full on like hunter safety course type thing where they got to come and drive and learn how to drive with them, or what is it? And so there's another company that's not like DMV or whatever the hell it is, but it's like a specifically made for hand controls or different vehicle control systems. And they told me that I can approve, or drivers can be approved by just me letting them test in a sim. And I was just going to test them in a car, but they said that's all I needed to that. And if I wanted to do a waiver or something, liability, then that double protect me, but I should be able to be good just by testing them in a sim. And I'm like, all right, cool. So win-win on both sides. So I decided not to, because I was going to drive an electric car anyways. And I was like, I'm still kind of like on the fence with the whole electric thing. And it's like, from all the drivers I've driven, said they're fun, but they sound like giant RC cars. But they're hella fast. But it's just like, I'll wait till they bring them to the stage, because it was going to be, the plan was to go over there to Sweden, and then it was like a global series, which I don't even know if it's happening now because of this whole Ukraine thing. But it's that was the plan. And then to move is 2023, everything's supposed to go fully electric. And now then we're going to come back to the States. Now it's going to race over here in the same car, with a different team, with Subaru. Well, it's not Subaru because they separated last year. It was the end of their contract with my buddy's company, which is Vermont Sports Car, which is so they ended their contract with them because Subaru doesn't want to go electric, but Motorsports going full electric. So that's where they had to kind of like part ways. And I don't know, that's why I said the motorsport situation is kind of a joke right now. It's all screwed up, and I don't really have any ambition at the moment to race an electric car. So I'm just like, I don't know. I'm hoping things are gonna go in a different direction eventually, or stay somewhere or another. I don't really know what's gonna happen. Honestly, I'm just kind of going with the flow and trying to get things done to get other people out and having fun and let them enjoy what I enjoy, like get some throttle therapy. So that's basically where I'm at with the whole aspect of motorsport and developing what I'm trying to do. And like, I mean, I just enjoy life fully in every level. Like you say, you ski, and I've been asked to go skiing, but I'm always so cold that I'm afraid to fall. Like, I don't want to freaking get all full of snow. So it's like, that's where I'm at. But it's like, I want to try it, and I just haven't had time or opportunity to really go do it. And so it's like, if you want to go take pictures, or you want to go fishing, or you want to go hunting or whatever, maybe I'll help you design whatever you're looking to design. I'm not an engineer, I'm a problem solver. I didn't go to school for this shit. I just figured it out. My dad's a mechanic and fabricator by trade. So that's kind of what I grew up with, is learning how to, he'd have me go to trade shows and take pictures of stuff and make it ourselves. Like, we're not going to pay for it, just build it. And like, I remember as a kid, when we were restoring our house or whatever, we'd go through different houses and whatever, fix them up, and they'd buy new ones. And it's like, I've done pretty much everything you could to build a house. And my real dad was a contractor as well. And that was my fallback plan, being grandfathered in with to be a contractor if I've racing didn't work out back then before I broke my neck. And so he'd make me like, either I was helping him according to him, those are air quotes, by the way. Uh, I'd be watching like we're tearing a tile or we doing a hardwood floor, or doing a bathroom or a toilet or garbage stuff that people don't normally do. People call for and have a girl text me or call me or whatever, and be like, "Yo, can I go hang out with such and such?" And he's like, "No, you're helping me right now." And I'm like, "Dude, you're killing me. Like, she's gonna go hang out with homeboy, and I'm not gonna get like it's gonna whatever. Like, trust me, future when your friend, that same friend, is calling a plumber, calling someone to do his hard floor, calling someone to fix his electrical panel or his fuse box or whatever because he doesn't know how to do it himself, and you're gonna know how to do all that stuff." And so I'm like, "Yeah, you like at the time I'm like, yeah, you're right, but I know, but I want to freaking go hang out with homegirl." And so now it's like almost poisoned me because I know how to do things and I'm a perfectionist, so I know how to do them and do them right. And then I got to watch people do them wrong and then teach them how to do it while I'm paying them. It's like, all right, this is pissing me off now because I should be able to be doing it all, and you're not doing it, and I'm paying you to do it. So it's almost like a oxymoron where, yeah, it's good that I know it all. I know when they're doing it, when they're doing it wrong, but also I don't. Not same thing with doctors. Like, I'm not here to teach you about me. Like, when I go to the doctor and I have a problem and because I'm quad and you don't know about me, I'm not here to inform you on my situation. I'm coming to you to get help, not help you about my situation. So it's just like kind of the same aspect where like I say, I dive into everything I've ever done, and I've broken a whole lot of things, and so has my dad and my brother and everyone else around me. So I knew him by first name in the ER when I was a kid. So it was like, "Oh, hey Mario, you're back again? Yeah, I'm here. What's up?" So it's just yeah, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, it's also good knowledge to have too. I just crave knowledge on all levels and everything I want to do. So it's I guess it's my curse and blessing. Yeah, you should say it is my stubbornness and just ambition to want to be better in every area of whatever I do. Because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I've been taught my entire life. Why do something at all unless you do it right? So that's kind of, I don't know, a lot of different things that are like that where just, yeah, I want to know everything about it. That's why I hated dealing with attorneys because I don't know a lot about the law. I've learned a lot more now, but as those are the only people, those are the only guys that scare me because they know a lot. The law is able to be manipulated in a lot of ways, but yeah, I don't know. I wish you could just take a test for certain things like a doctorate and get it passed because I don't want to go to medical school. But I know more than those idiots, that's for sure. Usually, there's some good ones out there, but I haven't found them yet. But
Yeah, well, it's just cool, man, that like our strengths are also our weaknesses, where we can push and push and push, but
yeah,
sometimes that's, but it's really cool to see that you've kept on the positive side, the strength side of all that with everything that you've been able to accomplish, man. And getting out there and like being competitive against able-bodied people at all, regardless of whether or not it's the top of the sport or not,
mhm.
that's says so much.
And that's kind of the reason I developed the controls the way I did, because that's what it bothered me the most. I mean, I went on track the first time with this just regular old school push for brake, down for gas, one hand on the throttle or one hand on the wheel, no control over the transmission, and I was only able to drive about 60%, maybe whatever else. That's where I felt comfortable at, and not controlling the gear shift points was a big deal. So like I had my dad jump in, and I freaked my dad out, and then my buddy had to jump in and have to shift for me because I was having them downshift and upshift or whatever, so I can be in the right RPM. I drive a lot with the tranny and brake a lot with the tranny, and that's kind of just comes from. So knowing what RPM I'm in, knowing how much power I'm at, especially with the turbo car, my first car I built, it had to be obviously above 3,500 RPM, be able to actually create power and not have any turbo lag and all that. So it was just a big deal. So when I developed the controls, and then you're sitting all cattywampus because you're just like trying to balance yourself in the chair and not holding on square. So like when I was able to just firmly hold myself and push and pull with both arms, that's what I'm doing. That's why I have this have the spools on there so they can basically, when I've got to turn left, I can push up and then push down. So I don't have obviously the tricep strength to push down, so I can just use my bicep to pull up,
Right.
and just in one way or another, and preserve strength and go further and go faster and go compete at the level that you don't have an excuse to that this guy's better than me because he has the use of his legs. And it's been funny to see my friends try. The, they've all been too scared. Like did when I do my, I don't know if you read my Red Bull article or whatever, but when I did that article, Mitchell DeYoung, he's a professional, fuck everything. He's won championships and all kinds of stuff as a kid, but he's actually a professional racer now. Red Bull paid him 100 grand like a couple years ago. Like it's what his salary is every year now. I think it's more now, but he's one of the top sim racers in the world. But he's won rallycross championships, like off-road truck championships, open wheel championships. Well, he's been in a freaking car since he was a kid, and he still is a kid. He's like 23 or something, 24. But he came out today. Red Bull did their whole article or whatever, their spread on me, and from that picture actually on the wall. And he's supposed to test out the controls and validate them for me for GRC in general, and for to be able to go drive and say, yeah, they can do what they're supposed to do and blah, blah, blah. And they're accurate and precision. There's nothing holding you back. And I kind of scared him a little bit because the track that we were on, the car wasn't set up for it. And I had to steer with the rear quite a bit because some of the corners were a little too tight and they're decreasing radiuses. So the car was running wide. And I can only turn so far being locked in at 9 and 3. And so I'm just throttle steering through the corner, and he's just kind of freaking out, like tripping. And because I didn't notice at first because I wasn't watching him. I had the GoPro on his face, but watching the GoPro after, it was kind of funny. And he's like, "Nah, dude, I'm good. The car's a little loose. I don't want to crash it." Like I'm like, "Well, I had to set it up loose, dude. It wasn't get around the track. I had to get it to rotate." And he's like, "Nah, man." He's like, "I'm cool." And he's like I said, multi-champion in every different aspect of motorsport. So that was kind of a bummer. But then they tried him in sim, and they're just like, dude, this is like easier than driving with my feet. Like I don't even know what to do with my feet now. Like you got everything right in your hands. Like you literally mid corner, you can trail brake all the way in. You give it throttle, you can downshift, you can upshift. You have all the control of everything right here with just two hands. And you know, think about it. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty intuitive. And yeah, that's the way I set them up. Is just you're with using gravitational forces and just all yeah, pretty easy to understand. If you're braking, you're being thrown forward, so you push brake forward for brake and downshift forward, and then you're on throttle, you're going backwards, you upshift, and throttles, just twist throttles, pretty simple. So pretty basics for that goes, and that's kind of keep it simple, stupid, right? The whole KISS thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so is there like can that steering wheel or that what I don't know what you call that kit, all
Yeah.
the unit itself?
Honestly, there's been multiple names for it. I originally called them Crip Trolls because my stepdad's name is Troll, or his nickname was Troll, and I'm a Crip, so. But it's a little abrasive to people, some people, and so I don't really have a name for them. They're just I have them as like road race controls, and then sim controllers, sim trolls, what I call the sim ones, and different things like that. So, still haven't really patented it or whatever, trademarked the name, but for the most part, they're just hand controls.
Do you see that as something that I know a lot of it's proprietary, like when you're installing it in a car, but like, is that something that could be reasonably used as just adaptive controls in a normal car for normal driving?
Yeah, so that's what I focused on. That's what took me so long this year, or whatever, or maybe even a little bit over a year, is making them for where they are in my BMW, like how they're just we had to modify a lot to make them fit and work in there. I changed the rack ratio and all that, and had to change the steering column angle because it typically comes out at a different angle instead of straight and all that. So the new ones are on a quick release. So like if an able-bodied person wanted to drive the car, you just pop off the wheel, pop on a regular wheel, and you're good to go. But that's the way that they come as a kit as well. Is because for daily driving, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you can use them like through the pits. I have to take my hands out of the thing. I'll use the outside of them, but I'm just idling, cruising like that slow or whatever. But it's kind of sketchy, obviously, without your finger function or hand function. And so it's doable, but especially with the new technology and electronic racks, electronic steering pump, you can turn them up and turn a lot more like a Formula car and just with a lot less input. But then it makes it a lot more twitchy. So like, unless you get used to driving the car like that, when you minimal input, I mean, you could look at my sim videos or whatever, and I'm just barely turning the wheel, but the guy's freaking wheels on the hand in the game are just like climbing.
Right.
So yeah, there's ways of doing it electronically now, but the way that I developed them is on purpose. So you can pop it if you have a daily driver that you want to take to the track and weekend racer or whatever. You can drive there with your steering wheel and have your controls that are you can still shift with this. So it's similar to the ones that they have now, except it's twist throttle, and then you shift with using it slides and it moves in a different mechanism type of way, so you can actually still control the shift points and brake and all of that, which I developed in Scandinavia for rallycross because you're having to counter steer so much, but I wanted control over the gear shift points and needed to actually control the clutch as well for taking off. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to develop for daily driving is so having to use a wheel to realistically. I mean, the quickest rack I think they make is like a 1.9 turn lock to lock, and that's quite a bit. Like that's a lot more than what I'm doing on a road course. So when you're moving fast, it says it's going to turn quicker, obviously, but the slower you go, like in a parking lot, trying to park that thing, you're going to be doing like a 20-point turn.
Right. Right. Because you never turn that sharp on the track.
Yeah. Well, you do, but you just nuts. Like for one, when I first developed them, the turn that was the tightest was Sonoma that I was racing at, and it was like I think it was a 70-foot radius that I had to make, and otherwise you're hitting the wall. And you can obviously change that with the steering jump, suspension jump, all that. As far as having it turn sharper, not enough, and the camber and the caster such. So that was the easy thing to kind of develop. But also, like I said, I had to get a quicker rack, so I was able to not to turn so much. But when you're moving faster, you can adjust all of that. But when you're trying to adjust to the world around you, it's like, all right, well, there's stairs right there, and that's how I get in the building. Like I can't really change that right now, and that's kind of how the world throws things at you sometimes. So it's a doable thing, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I mean, if you're just driving on the freeway and you're just cruising and doing some back road driving or whatever, you're good. You can drive back roads all day long. But if you want to like do stuff slow, like I said, the parking lot is a big easiest reference. It's difficult, so you got to get that wheel a lock to lock to turn into a parking spot, and that's just kind
And I saw, and when you drive your daily driver with a normal steering wheel, huh?
Yep, that's why I designed these with this normal steering wheel. So I
I'm
figured
surprised you get a hold of it. Like just
yeah, I use the spokes a lot. So I used to have a little Brody knob thingy or whatever, the cuff, and yeah, my first M3 that I got for daily driver, um, the wheels are fatter on the M cars, so the thing wouldn't fit on the wheel, and so I was like, I just told my dad to zip tie it on there, and he thought I was stupid, and he only threw one zip tie on, like on both sides or whatever. I'm like, those are gonna break, dude. Like he's like, this is a stupid idea, anyways. It'll be fine. And so yeah, I freaking was leaving in and out, just got food, freaking turning on just on the road, making a 90-degree turn. Just looking through the corner and freaking all of a sudden thing pops off, smacks me in the face. And then like I like fall backwards out of balance or whatever and hammer the throttle down and straight into a telephone pole or a light pole. And I'm like, mother effer. So after that, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm never using a Brody knob again. Like this is a joke. And yeah, it's just and it's kind of like prevented me from driving more stupid on the road in general also. So which I still kind of do, but I've learned now to use them well enough how I need to. And I mean, I've done even track days without a Brody knob, but it's definitely sketchy. Like you got to catch the wheel at the proper time, and just like when you're striking, like you should use a power chair, but like yeah, it's like I don't know. Laguna Seca is one of the corners where I got to take my hand off the throttle and use it to turn the wheel a little bit and stick my hand back in the spoke and make sure like I know where the spokes are. Like I did their high performance driving class here in at Radford Racing School, which is Bondurant Racing School before for them because I'm helping them develop and put controls in their car for Dodge, and they have all Hellcats and stuff. And the wheels are so fat, like the spokes, because they have all the buttons on them, that I was trouble getting my hand in between the spokes when I was trying to turn. So I would like for every corner, instead of like I was finding my reference points, obviously like I would for a regular racetrack or whatever. But I had to have my reference points for like, all right, I know my hand needs to be in this spoke if I want to make it all the way through this corner because this has this much of a radius, and I got to be able to get the wheel to turn that far. So if I could just certain scenarios where I'd be making like a decreasing radius, I'd make sure my hand was in the right spoke before when I'm coming into the corner. It's awkward as hell, but mid corner feels nice, and then where it's at, finishing the corner, where it's supposed to be, and then got to pull it out and pop it back in the other spot where it's supposed to go and hammer on the throttle. So it's just adjusting.
Yeah. And just for reference, I did like I built up a 500 wheel Subaru Bug-Eye, and then I just finally gave up my my ZRX. I had a 2001 Kawasaki ZRX. I just gave that up finally. I was thinking about making a rail cart out of it, but
Dude, that bug eye
that's
dope
just
though.
go ahead.
That bug eye's got to be dope though.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are fun, man. Subarus are at STI 05, and that thing was a blast. But no, I've always wanted. You still have it?
I do it, and the only reason that I have it is because I did hybrid built motor, rotated turbo. I did everything. It was standalone ECU, and
Yeah.
all that. So it was properly on its way to being a track car, and
Yeah.
I hadn't done. I didn't have. I was doing everything shy of actual track specs, so I didn't have my welded cage yet, and there's those certain things I needed to do to really properly be on the track. So instead, I'm just, you know, driving it hard in the mountains with no cage.
And
But
bolting is efficient. Yeah, I
but
definitely.
well, I do still have it. And what happened was, I ran it on E85 because E85 burns at 107 octane or whatever. And but back at that time, we were having a hard time tuning it for idle in the wintertime because it's so cold up here and elevation. And so with the extra machining tolerances, the hardened rings and the pistons that I had more blow by. And so
Mm,
so idling was an issue around that, and it took forever to get everything warmed up and ready to go in the morning when it was really cold. So I would have to run it on 91 octane basically to be able to like tune it for idle. So I'd have to go
yeah.
back and forth, and it was warming up. Anyway, I was switching it from E85 to 91, and I left like a whole quarter tank of 91 in it. And then I was like, oh well, I should put on my wastegate map. And I was like, oh no, whatever. I'll just put on my full map, and I'm just going to drive it really, really softly, even though I had it set for full boost. And I was running out that tank, and I took a left turn at a light, and you
Oh,
know overspun first gear, and it boosted really hard, and I didn't have the right fuel in there, and
damn.
it had a really bad backfire event, and and actually, you know, like damage one of the ringlands basically. And so pull the motor, and then that was like an hour and a half, a year and a half before I got hurt. So the reason I still have my car is because it, you know, it wasn't all put together when I got hurt. Otherwise, we would have liquidated it immediately, you know. And
Yep.
then, okay, so I'll wrap up my story. But like my tuner, the shop changed hands while I was hurt, and like a bunch of stuff went missing, and they ended up basically they'd had my motor. They lost my whole motor with all so much aftermarket, like
No
so much
way.
to do it. It had like 5,000 miles on it, and they totally lost it. So that was like about a $20,000 loss just right there. And so, but to their credit, they want me to get them the car, and they're gonna get it running at least on a stock motor, maybe like 300, 350 wheel or something like that, based on the part. You know, I still have my turbo kit and all that. I just have to run a stock block, but or stock motor altogether. But I want to do that. But you know, like I don't know, do I have to make my car an automatic now? Could I get something like what you're putting out? And then you know, obviously it's not a cheap thing to do, but
Mm,
I I miss my I
manual.
miss the driving a whole lot. And I don't drive right now at all. I don't have a I'm actually looking at getting a full size van because I'm on the taller side. I have really long legs, and I can't really drive a minivan without a lot of extra modification to it, which I
Mm,
don't want, you know, want to spend all that money on a minivan anyway, because I kind of beat it up driving around Colorado. So
yeah.
I'm trying to get something that I can drive from my power chair, which isn't very easy. But man, I would love to turn that Subaru back into something I can fly around in.
Yeah. So there's a company called MME. I think it's. Let me look it up. Oh, I forget internet's still down. I'll send you a link when I have internet when we get off this call. But MME makes a kit for manual cars. So they actually have you ever heard of Team Brit? It's like a British bunch of some of them are amputees and some are in chairs. And so they help them design their hand controls for I'm trying to look for something. They made their like paddles for like throttle and brake, and they made some weird stuff. And they make stuff for sim stuff. And I contacted them to see if we could work together, but like honestly, that was a project we did just specifically for them. Blah blah blah, and they're kind of assholes about it. But they make a full um, sequential, not sequential, so air shifter kind of thing for you to use paddles for what vehicle. So I don't think Subarus are cable driven. Their transmissions are they? I don't. Do you know?
Yeah, mine is.
It is cable driven.
I think so.
Oh, then that makes it much easier. Yeah. So then there's a couple companies that'll do it, but MME makes a really good one, and I don't know what the kit costs. I wish I could look it up right now, but I don't know what the hell's going on with the internet. But yeah, I was looking into it for because I want a manual car. That's why I got my M3 because I had has the SMG in it and the E46, and then but I'm building an E30 right now, like my 18th one actually. But I'm trying to figure out which motor and what tranny to put in it, and I'm probably gonna go with an N54, like out of the 335 turbo, twin turbo, but go single turbo with it because it has DCT, and you could find them pretty damn cheap because they're in everything. And yeah, so but I honestly don't like the DCT, like except F80 also, and the F80 M3 is, you know, they shift. You can't argue with how fast they shift, obviously, but it's like my E46 with the SMG actually has a 6-speed transmission that has a little module in there that pushes the clutch and shifts the gear for you and all that. So like
Wow.
feels like you're driving a man. And so it's like it was their first sequential setup, BMW's first sequential setup they came up with, and it's obviously not faster on track, but it's for me it's funner to if I'm just driving on the road and having a good time, like to feel it shift. And like you could obviously turn up the ferocity of how quick it shifts or how hard it shifts or stiffness and all that. But and then you can run it in automatic also. But it's essentially the same kit as that they make. And yeah, that's one of the things I'm looking at because yeah, it allows me to get a better get track transmission out of an actual 6-speed, even cheaper transmission from like a 3 series or whatever, and put it in there with made it to the N54 and not have to deal with the DCT because not that I don't want to deal with it, but it's just like I said, if it's gonna be my street car or whatever, just like I'm building it as like a daily driver, weekend warrior type thing. I'm gonna put in 2 seats in the front, no seat in the back, half gauge, and fully restoring it so it's like a brand new car. And so I'm not gonna drive it every day. It's just like when I want to have a good time in it. So it's just such a fun car and so small and talks to you and doesn't need 400 horsepower, but it's gonna be fun with it. So, but like I said, prefer to have that type of shifting, and that's where I think would be perfect situation for what you're talking about. Because I know there's a company out of SoCal that makes one. Because I actually have my first car that I built for the track was a GSX Eclipse, because I couldn't find. Well, obviously they don't make an STI in automatic, so I found the GSX, which is like a pre-generation Evo, so all-wheel drive turbo, and it was making about 450 horsepower. When I first built it, I just put a new motor in because I popped my last one, and I was building it for Pikes, and that right now has like a $8,000 just fully built gnarly automatic transmission in it that shifts like a DCT because it's so like positive and how firm the shifts are, and it'll shift whenever you want it to. So like if you want to like throw that revs way up in the freaking air, it'll let you pop that motor if you want it to. But
Right.
it's not manual still. It's only got 4 speeds. So it's I don't know. It's different, but I'm still debating on whether I want to drop an Evo transmission in there or something and put the MME system in it and all that. So I just have too many projects and too much of that crap and not enough money, like I said. So but that I'd look into the MME system for you for the bug eye, because that thing would be dope to just get going again and have a lot of fun in it. So
Yeah, it's so much fun. Oh my God.
yeah,
I'm you're 15 years out right now, right?
yeah, obviously this year.
Yeah. And I'm 10 this year and I still can't drive yet. So it's like I'm dying to get behind the wheel of something.
Yeah, and whether we got to get you out here first or like I said, that I'll send you the link right now and I get off the phone or whatever with you. And I'm pretty sure they make one for a Subaru. Like I'm pretty positive. And if they don't, I know a couple other companies that do. I just can't think of them off the head, the names of them. And they do all the auto blipping for you, downshifting, and it's like a full package. It's everything. So it's the ones that the Porsche Cup cars run or were running when they first came out. When they went from the 6 speeds to the sequentials, or the not sequential, but the PDK or whatever the hell it is. So yeah, they're legit company, but that's, like I said, they're kind of assholes when I try to ask them to help with the whole sim hand control stuff, and they're like, "Well, that was just a project. Sorry, we don't have any interest in that."
Mm,
Like, all right, cool. Apparently, we don't have the same mindset.
right.
I don't want to work with you.
Before I forget, is there a place, for me or anyone that's interested? Like, is there already somewhere I could go and drive a car setup, like with your stuff in it?
So that's what I'm doing with the school here, Radford Racing School, is setting them up. They're getting more and more cars actually. So Jensen Button actually, him and his investment company, Jensen Button is. Jensen Button, he's a former, I don't know if he's a multi, but he's at least, I know he's I think he's a 1 or 2 time Formula One champion, and so he's got money, respect, knowledge, everything else you need, and connections. And he ended up buying it out from the CEO or whatever now, and the guy that runs super cool, um, and he's all about wanting to help do my thing with the controls and do his thing with the controls because that's why I did the whole driving school for them to basically do like a comparison video, and then we had like a Dodge Garage thing. I don't know if you saw that on my YouTube. So we had a podcast with them to tell them what we were doing. It's on my channel, but it's basically we compared. I'm comparing, they're comparing whatever the differences of not having the controls and having to use just the regular. I mean, they're like I told them, you guys are. I had to help them fix the controls when I got there. I spent most time in the garage because there's nowhere to fixture those stupid push-pull controls in new cars because they have airbags and they have all this other bracing crap underneath the steering wheels. So you're trying to fit 50-year-old technology into new cars. It's not going to work. Like, so I had to, like I told them I wanted to come earlier because I knew it was going to be that problem. So where I was like pushing the brakes and things, there was all kinds of shit that was going wrong. And so I made some stuff for them and brought it back to them the next day and fixed it for them. But yeah, anyways, it's basically figuring out the difference and how much bigger the difference is as far as using those controls for a race application or using the controls that I developed to actually go out and try to be competitive. Because I mean, I was on pace with my class, but my class they're not professional drivers, so it was just like it was whatever, and it was more frustrating because like they wouldn't put them in a Hellcat because the Hellcat had too much crap under them. So I'd drive the Charger, and the Charger was fine. But the Scat Pack was like, I think they're, I don't know, 500 something horsepower or whatever the hell they are. But so it was fun. It was easy to get sideways. It was easy to throttle steer, but it wasn't like a Hellcat, and they don't come with harnesses. And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever. You guys have a so-called controlled equipped car with no proper equipment, no seat to hold you in, no freaking harnesses to hold you properly. Like this is a joke. So they're like realizing things, tripping out, and I mean, I would hook my elbow underneath the door, whatever it's called, for your elbow, and I would just hook under there when I make left turns, so I don't flop over to the center. And I literally had to have them ratchet strap me into the seat because I was like, this is just not working. And then eventually I'd have to loosen it up and straighten myself out because I'd be sliding around. But yeah, I was like, this is a joke, guys. We got to figure this out. So they've got the Hellcats, they've got F4 cars that I want to equip, and then TA2 cars, so Trans Am cars, and they're getting Legends. So those Legends cars are pretty epic. I used to have a Legend, and the thing was so much fun with the street bike motor and sequential transmission and high revving, tiny little car that just slides around everywhere. It's fun. But and then I'm setting them up with sims also, so they're gonna have a whole little sim area where they're full motion, so they can actually translate what they're talking about for weight transfer and stuff. Where you hit the brake and car goes forward, you turn to the right, and weight goes to the left or whatever. So it's like kind of the actuators are going to simulate all that, and then also have that ability to rent them out and let people use them and practice and drive and have fun. But yeah, so there's a lot we're working on with them, and then there's Dirtfish that I set up with controls as well. The rally school up in Seattle that I was working with, and I actually got to get them the new controls. They keep bugging me about it, and then my machinist quit on me, so that's where I kind of got screwed. But yeah, they've got the push for brake, down for gas throttle right now that I gave them back. I don't even know how many years ago, 2016 or something, maybe 2015. But they're waiting for the new rally controls that I came out with, and like I said, it's in Finland, and all refined because they were right, they're in the garage now. And they'll be able to have control over the gear shift points and handbrake and all that other stuff. Where originally I had to have my instructor basically shift for me. So like after a couple of laps of doing around a certain area, basically I'd be yelling at them through the radio, like, yo, downshift, like for certain RPM. So he'd downshift, and so once we got a rhythm going, it was whatever. But it wasn't like I didn't have control. So like if I wanted to downshift even more during a corner when I was bogging or whatever, if I needed to bring the front end in or whatever it may be, it was still left up to him to do it, and just kind of frustrating. And they still actually don't have anything other than BRZs equipped, because the BRZs that they're running are the automatic paddle shifter ones. So they shift all right, but it's a rear wheel drive, so you don't have the all wheel drive option. It's just the BRZs, and that's why I'm kind of looking at MME stuff also. So I'll check it out, see if they have stuff for Subaru, because yeah, that'd be perfect to get them set up with that as well, and let them offer the STI as an option also. But those two schools I've worked with already. I'm working with Radford now, and worked with Dirtfish for a long time, and then Rally Ready out of Texas is another school that I'm supposed to go equipped. Or he's a buddy of mine that owns a rally school out there as well, that Bucky Lassik's connected with, and he just started a rally team as well. And then what was the other school? There's a couple of them that we're working on getting equipped, but yeah, the next stage of my business is just having cars that are able to, and posting track days, and setting up a couple cars. I'll have my M3 and then my GSX, and then a couple different BMWs. Actually, I'll have 3 M3s and then a couple other stuff, but I'm kind of partial to BMW, I guess you'd say, but not against anything else. So once a manufacturer wants to jump on board, I'm happy to welcome them with open arms, because I'd take this off my hands, please, literally. But until that time comes, it's kind of like, all right, I think I'm just going to build a bunch of spec E46s, because that's like the new class, and they're built with these at 330 chassis, and you could find them all day for like $3,000. And it's a competitive class, and it's a 40-50 car grid if you want to race NASA or SCCA. It's like it took over it's a new E30 class essentially. So it's a faster, more competitive E30 class, and which E30s are just damn expensive now. Because I mean, when I was buying them, like I said, I had 18 of them. I had a rally program that I started with a buddy, because we had 60 acres that we had access to that where motocross track was on when we were kids. We turned into a rallycross track. I just started buying E30s off Copart before they were really worth anything. And like I said, that's why it's my 18th one that I have, that I gave to my little brother actually for his graduation present, because he lost his license trying to drift on the street like an idiot. I'm like, if you want to be a drifter, dude, like do it in the right place. Like build this. And yeah, he was dumb. So, and he never did anything with it, and just had a baby. And he's like, dude, just take the car. I'm never going to do anything with it. And so it's sitting in my driveway right now, I'm collecting parts as we speak, and trying to figure out which direction I'm going with it. I was going to make it a drift car, but I don't want to ruin it. It'd be a sad thing. So it'll be fun when it's done. But yeah. Anyways, there's at this point, there's a couple different places, but a lot of people are the ones that you can go drive cars. Or if you want to go in a circle, then there's plenty out east. A lot of NASCAR guys that they have NASCARs that are equipped, but no, the more people are finding out about my controls, they're reaching out to me and wanting them to equip their schools, or schools I never even heard of or knew about. So it's been kind of cool, kind of exciting. So that's why I said I'm being real quiet and cautious and slowly letting information out, because I'm already overwhelmed with, like, I have over 1,000 friend requests on Facebook that I can't accept because I have too many friends. So it's like I'm trying to push them to my fan page because I can have as many as I want on there, but they don't understand that. So, and I hate social media in general. So like once everything takes off, I don't really want it anymore. But it's a good source of information to meet people like yourself and everybody else, and way to connect with people and keep people updated. But yeah, at this point, I just waiting to see where it all goes, and trying to get things done as fast as possible.
That's cool, man. And I know there's a whole lot of people out there that are so stoked to see you doing what you're doing in general, but to see you doing it from your chair and all the ways you beat the odds and continue to.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like asking for help and still have a problem with it. So it's just like, I usually should, but I can't. I'm too stubborn, I guess. And just doing the best I can with what I got. So I just usually figure it out or get hurt. And then someone offers to help. But yeah, just trying my best, man. And I don't know. I hate the word inspiration. Everyone like, you're so inspirational, you're so this and that. And it's like, I'm glad that I'm inspiring you, but I'm not doing this to inspire you. I'm just doing this because it's what I got to do. And it's what people don't want to do for themselves. So I'm doing it for you, kind of thing. Because it's, in my opinion, it's a necessity. If no one else is going to do it, then I got to do it. So that's where I look at it as. And no one else is going to help me rearrange my room. Well, I'm going to figure out how to move this heavy ass object over there, whatever it may be. So just a stubborn mindset, I guess.
Well, it's good. It seems like that's how new things come into existence, though.
Stubbornness.
Yeah. Yep. People
Necessity.
who won't take no for an answer because everyone else will take it.
That's just like, tell me no, and you kind of just make me have to go do it. Like, now you're challenging me. But
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's a curse and a blessing, like I said.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've kept you for 2 whole hours already.
Yeah, I know. It's not a big deal. It's been a good conversation, man. It's been good to know you can talk to you. So
Yeah,
I'll look tomorrow. I still haven't gotten the questions, but I'm not worried about it. I mean, I've done plenty of interviews, so not really sure what it entails or what you guys are going to want to talk about. But
nothing big. Just we just have like a standard question format. Because like where we're talking now is like more open ended and
yeah,
just go into whatever we want to talk about because there's a lot of time. And then those interviews are a little more regimented, so it's more like a 30 to 45 minute kind of thing, where it's like just how'd you get injured, and describing that, and then things you've relied on along the way, and most of it you told me today already, but it'll kind of make it more concise, for people that are looking through the interviews, and and then we can share some of the stuff from this interview, to add more content, and then getting your links and your YouTube channel and all your stuff that we can direct people to,
yeah, sure.
but
Sounds like, and we doing that at 3?
it would be, we've typically been doing it 4 Mountain Time.
Okay.
Is that
So before tomorrow?
yeah.
Perfect. All right. I'll just make
Yep.
sure I get my phone on, because I've been kind of just leaving my phone away from me when I'm in the shop and just kind of focusing. Otherwise, there's so many platforms on people to contact me on. It's crazy. Everyone to talk on, which is a COVID, Discord, and freaking WeChat, and all this other nonsense of. There's just so many. I can't keep up, and I get messages on all of them for different reasons. But so I'll just like put my phone away for a while and focus.
Can eat up your whole day for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll let you go as well, and have a great rest of the evening, brother. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, Mario. Great
Cheers.
talking to you. All right.
Later,
Cheers.
Adam. Bye.
Later.